If you told someone 5 years ago that Ben Johns would one day walk away from singles pickleball, they would have laughed you out of the room. This was the man who built a 108-match winning streak in singles, a number so absurd it may never be touched again. And yet, here we are. At the PPA Newport Beach Open in March 2026, Ben Johns once again chose not to enter the singles bracket. He let that draw play out without him. Hunter Johnson took the gold. And Johns? He was busy doing what he has been doing all season long, dominating doubles like nobody else on the planet. But something else happened at Newport Beach that most people missed. Ben Johns changed his serve. After 9 years of the same service motion, he quietly switched from a stationary stance to stepping into the ball. It sounds small. It is not. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why Ben Johns is making these choices, what it means for the rest of the PPA Tour, and whether this strategy is brilliant or the beginning of the end. Let us start with who we are actually talking about. Ben Johns is, by virtually every measure, the greatest pickleball player who has ever lived. He holds over 123 PPA Tour titles. He has won 21 Triple Crowns, tournaments where a single player wins gold in singles, doubles, and mixed doubles. His singles winning streak of 108 matches is a record that sits in a category of its own. He turned professional pickleball from a backyard curiosity into a legitimate athletic pursuit watched by millions. Off the court, he is a savvy entrepreneur and co-owner of 3 pickleball businesses: Pickleball Getaways, Pickleball 360, and Johns Design and Consulting. But beyond the business empire and the record books, the thing that has always defined Ben Johns is his ability to be the best at everything on the court at the same time. Singles, doubles, mixed, all of it. That versatility is what made him the GOAT. And that is exactly what makes his current strategy so fascinating and so controversial. So what actually happened at Newport Beach? Let us break it down event by event. In men's doubles, Johns and his partner Gabe Tardio entered as the #1 seed and delivered exactly what the draw predicted. They beat the #2 seed Christian Alshon and Hayden Patriquin in 4 games: 11-6, 11-2, 3-11, 11-8. That third game loss is worth noting because Alshon and Patriquin showed they could compete when they upped their aggression. But Johns and Tardio steadied the ship in Game 4 and closed it out. That victory was their 13th title together and their 11th gold medal this season alone. Statistically, Johns and Tardio had just 2 return errors compared to 7 for their opponents. Their longest rally went 35 shots. They were clinical, efficient, and largely untroubled. In mixed doubles, Johns paired once again with Anna Leigh Waters, the most dominant partnership in the entire history of racket and paddle sports. They faced the 10th-seeded team of Tina Pisnik and Eric Onsens and won in 3 games: 11-4, 11-2, 12-10. That third game was tighter than expected, with Pisnik and Onsens pushing the score to 10-all before Waters and Johns closed it out. That win was their 60th title as a mixed doubles team and their 11th gold of the season. But here is the stat that should stop you in your tracks. Anna Leigh Waters and Ben Johns have never failed to win mixed doubles gold together in consecutive tournaments. That streak now covers 66 tournaments, dating all the way back to January 2022 at Desert Ridge. Not 66 matches, 66 entire tournaments.
Think about what that means. Over the course of more than 4 years, across different surfaces, different conditions, different opponents, different stages of the season, they have never once walked away from a tournament without the top step of the mixed doubles podium. No other partnership in any racket or paddle sport comes close. They also had 10 fewer dinks into the net or going wide than their opponents in the final. The longest rally stretched to 42 shots. They are not just winning, they are winning with suffocating efficiency that makes you wonder how anyone is supposed to beat them. But here is the part that everyone is really talking about. While all of this doubles dominance was unfolding, the men's singles bracket played out on the other side of the venue without Ben Johns anywhere near it. Hunter Johnson beat Federico Stocksrud in a tense two-game final, 12-10, 11-9, to claim the singles gold. Johnson is now the guy winning singles titles at PPA events. And Ben Johns, the man who once owned that bracket more completely than anyone has ever owned anything in this sport, simply was not there. This exposed one critical pressure point that has been building quietly all season. Ben Johns' singles ranking has dropped to 11th on the PPA Tour. 11th. Let that number sit with you. The man who built a 108-match winning streak in singles, the man who redefined what dominance looked like in professional pickleball, is now ranked outside the top 10 in the format that first made him famous. His PPA singles points sit at just 3,587, a fraction of his doubles totals. In men's doubles, he has over 20,000 points. In mixed doubles, over 22,000. The gap between his doubles and singles numbers tells you everything about where his priorities are. The last time he seriously competed in singles before Newport Beach was at the PPA Mesa Cup in February 2026. Before that, it was November 2025, where he lost to Alexander Crum in the round of 32. The GOAT of pickleball losing in the round of 32. That result alone tells you that something fundamental has shifted. So why is this happening? There are three causes, and they all connect to the same strategic calculation. The first cause is partnership optimization and matchup dynamics. Ben Johns has clearly made a deliberate decision to pour all of his competitive energy into doubles, and the evidence shows it is paying off. With Gabe Tardio, he has a men's doubles partner who complements his game in ways that create matchup problems for virtually every other team on tour. Their return error differential at Newport Beach, just 2 errors versus 7 from the second-best team in the world, speaks to a level of synchronization that only comes from relentless practice and total commitment. With Anna Leigh Waters and mixed, they have built something that transcends normal partnerships. 60 titles, 66 straight tournaments with gold. These numbers exist because both players are fully invested in making the partnership work above everything else. Playing singles takes physical and mental energy away from these partnerships. Every singles match is additional wear and tear on the body. Every loss in singles is a psychological dent that could carry over into a doubles final later in the same weekend. Johns appears to have done the math and concluded that protecting the doubles partnerships is more valuable than chasing singles results that have become increasingly uncertain. The second cause is mental pressure and narrative control. In January 2026, PicklePod co-host Nico the Lefty made a statement that sent shockwaves through the pickleball community.
He said, quote, "The game has passed Ben by when it comes to singles," end quote. That is a brutal assessment of the greatest player in history, but the numbers support the argument. The singles game in professional pickleball has evolved rapidly. Players like Hunter Johnson and Federico Stocksrud have built their entire competitive identities around the modern singles format. Explosive athleticism, relentless pressure, point construction designed specifically for one-on-one play. John's style, which once overwhelmed every opponent in every format through sheer tactical brilliance, now faces real challenges when there is no partner to share the court with. There is a psychological dimension to this as well. Ben Johns, the doubles king, collecting gold after gold with an untouchable mixed double streak, is a very powerful narrative. Ben Johns, the fading singles player who gets upset in early rounds, is a very different narrative. By stepping away from singles, Johns takes control of the story. He remains the dominant force. He does not give anyone the satisfaction of beating the GOAT in a bracket he used to own outright. The third cause is physical management and career longevity. The PPA Tour schedule in 2026 is relentless. Playing 3 full brackets, singles, men's doubles, and mixed doubles at every tournament creates an enormous physical load across an entire season. Ben Johns is 26 years old. He is not old by any athletic standard,
But he has been competing at the highest level of professional pickleball for years, and the accumulated stress of that grind is real. Injuries build up. Fatigue compounds across weeks and months of travel, practice, and competition. Recovery windows shrink as the season grinds on. By removing singles from his schedule, JOHNS cuts his match load by roughly a third. That means fresher legs heading into double semifinals and finals. That means sharper mental focus when the pressure points hit in the third game of a tight match. That means a longer career at the top of the sport, with more years of collecting titles and extending records that already look untouchable. It is the kind of decision a veteran champion makes when they realize that being the absolute best at two things is worth more than being merely good at three. And then there was the moment that caught the entire pickleball world off guard. JOHNS changed his serve. After 9 years of the same stationary service motion, a motion so familiar to pickleball fans that it was practically a signature, he switched to stepping into the ball. Zane Navratil was among the first to break this down publicly, showing side-by-side footage from 2017, 2020, and 2 weeks before Newport Beach. The difference is clear. The new motion generates significantly more power by shifting weight forward through the ball. It turns what was already a reliable serve into something that can genuinely pressure opponents off the return. Why would anyone change something that has worked for nearly a decade? Because the doubles game demands it. In doubles, the serve is the one moment where you have complete control of the point. A more aggressive, heavier serve pushes the returner deeper behind the baseline, gives your partner more time to set up at the net, and sets the tone for the entire rally. JOHNS is not just stepping away from singles. He is actively retooling his game to maximize doubles dominance. That is not the behavior of someone in decline. That is the behavior of someone optimizing for a very specific kind of greatness. This fits a pattern that has been building since late 2025. Look at the timeline. November 2025, JOHNS loses to Alexander Crum in the singles round of 32 and essentially stops entering singles brackets.
February 2026. He enters singles at the Mesa Cup, but the fire is not there the way it used to be. March 2026, Newport Beach. No singles entry, 2 doubles golds, a new serve. Each data point reinforces the same story. JOHNS is not fading. He is reallocating. He is channeling every ounce of his competitive drive into the formats where he can still be historically, generationally dominant. And the results say it is working. 13 men's doubles titles with Tardio this season. 60 titles with Waters in mixed. 66 straight tournaments without dropping a mixed doubles gold. These are numbers that future players will look at the way basketball fans look at Will Chamberlain's 100-point game, as records that belong to another era entirely. But what happens next determines whether this strategy goes down as genius or as a slow, dignified retreat from the top. There are 2 routes forward. The bounce-back route looks like this. JOHNS continues to dominate doubles throughout 2026. He and Tardio keep winning men's doubles titles at a rate that puts them in the conversation as the greatest men's doubles team in PPA history. He and Waters extend the mixed doubles streak past 70, 80, maybe 100 tournaments. The new serve becomes a weapon that other doubles teams start trying to replicate. And perhaps, just perhaps, he enters singles at 1 or 2 marquee events later in the season. Not because he needs the points, but because JOHNS is still a competitor who wants to remind the world that walking away was a choice, not a concession. A singles gold at a major event would silence every critic and cement his legacy for another generation. The conditions for this route are simple. His body needs to hold up, and the Tardio partnership needs to keep clicking. The PPA Utah Open will be the immediate test of both. The collapse route looks very different. If Johns avoids singles for the entire 2026 season, the narrative shifts permanently. He goes from a player who chose not to play to a player who could not compete. Younger, hungrier players fill the vacuum. The GOAT label starts to carry an asterisk. Greatest doubles player, absolutely, but what about singles? If Tardio gets injured or the partnership chemistry falters, suddenly Johns has no single safety net to fall back on. If another doubles team rises, if Alshin and Patrickin make the tactical adjustments suggested by their Game 3 win at Newport Beach, the margins in doubles get thinner too. The conditions for this route are that competition catches up in doubles while Johns has no singles credibility to fall back on. Utah will tell us a lot about how thin those margins really are. Here is my prediction. Ben Johns will not enter singles at PPA Utah. He will win at least one doubles gold, probably two. The serve change will become more polished, and we will see him generating noticeably more pressure on the return game throughout the draws. By mid-season, he will enter singles at one high-profile tournament, probably one of the big ones, and make a deep run. Not for the ranking points, not because anyone forced him, but because Ben Johns is still the most competitive person in pickleball. And deep down, he wants to remind everyone that stepping away from singles was strategy, not surrender. So here is the question. Do you think Ben Johns is making the right call by going all in on doubles? Or is he giving up the one thing that made him the undisputed GOAT? Drop your answer in the comments. A for smart move, B for bad decision. I will see you in the next one.